Our Bujin duelist returns. We actually have Gren Maju today, and Sky Strikers, along with some more of your interesting meta. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. Bujins. You know what I find absolutely crazy about this deck is the fact that Torafune just gives this deck so much gas, alright? Like, it's literally distributed special summon 2 Bujins of 2 different types from your deck in defense position. Well, here's the thing, alright? Most of these little extra sub-Bujin monsters are just made to protect the big, bad boss monsters. Alright, like, that's always been, like, the problem with this deck. Oh, and, Yamato also needs to be during the end phase. Yamato's never, ever, ever, ever going to get the chance to resolve unless they design some sort of card that allows, to use the effects of your monsters during, a main phase or something. It's just classic 2014 or 2012 Yu-Gi-Oh! Design doing their thing. Now, what else is interesting here is their choice of traps that they chose to use. They actually are playing some battle traps. Storming Mirror Force gives you that chance to bounce, your opponent's entire field back. And, I mean, who's really going to play spell and trap outs against Bujins, of all things? Like, this had a massive surprise factor, giving them the chance to kind of overcome some of the crazy degeneracy that you could kind of see in the meta. And of course, I mean, let's not forget about Destructive Daruma Cannon. Like, this card is a free little cleanup option for you. And of course, I mean, your side deck's also going to do some massive help for you down here as well. I mean, you have Spellbounds, blanking an entire field is always going to be good. Cosmics for some more immediate answers. You got a lot of stuff going for you here. And I think that's actually a good thing. When you can hit as many, disruptive outs and cleanups as you can with something like this, I like this a lot. Next up here, we have Gren Maju Ecynyce. Now, here's the thing I want to point out about this. Before you're like, oh no, 51 cards, this deck is terrible. No. I think one of the biggest things that people need to understand right now, especially when you're looking at, like, extending out, playing more things like this also doubles for rank 8 turbo stuff. Like, Gren Maju's not always going to be the, I'm gonna smash that button and win with it. No, this is just kind of the icing on the cake. You see your Horus package here, you see, Gizmek Orochi, these level 8s here honestly turn into some crazy stuff. Like, you can make Giant Trainer, which is a free draw 3 for this deck. Alright, Dingri Super Protection / Sending. And then, of course, yes, the Garunix actually does count as a rank 8 monster you can actually use. I know everybody's so caught up in the, Fire King this, Fire King that era, but the way things are looking right now, you have so much diversity present that you can actually kind of do some crazy things. Now, this deck does not give 2 craps about its normal summon. Alright, so you actually can use Hidden Armory here and go pull out United We Stand. Yeah, this is like an extra 3k burst damage on top of your opponent to clear game. Or you can go pull a Snatch Steal out, take your opponent's monster, link out with it, and suddenly, you have this larger array of stupid ideas that you're able to do with this deck. So think about that, alright? All of these different option trees that you're able to branch out with here and actually OTK / control your opponent. I find this to be very, very interesting. Like, this is not one of the more standard ideas that I thought I would actually see for today's meta. Next up here, we have Sky Strikers. The fact that Upstart Goblin has moved to 3 has just had everybody kind of questioning a lot of the realities of things going on out here. You kind of think about this at the end of the day, you're like, all right, so what can we abuse Triple Upstart in? And this is one of those decks. Also, to be fair, unless you're losing to a giant Droll and Lockbird Magnet, this deck should be able to filter through a good chunk of spells relatively easily. But, the problem with Striker right now is this card right here. Now, our hand trap ratios, main deck is fine. I mean, you have the Imperms, the Veilers, the Ashes. This is all good. Then you have the One Ray with the One Rose. And it really stinks if, you know, a Bike Steel is going to get involved and you're going to lose one of these two. But typically the Rose, because then you can't really do the full OTK swing through linkage. But it's not really, I think, going to be much of an issue, you know. And then, of course, we have things like Herald of the Abyss here. Spot removing those purely annoyances off the field. Actually, straight main deck tier, by the way, through this. And then, of course, the rest of this, I don't really have much to say here. The only other thing that really draws my attention down here is we're actually playing a Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. I have a feeling that this duelist ran into some oddities at their local environment that forced them to maybe want to play some really bad decisions out here, because let's call it what it is. We've all seen our bad share of Yu-Gi-Oh days where, you know, we lose to something random or there's just the inevitable. And I think this is a very interesting case of the little things along the way. And of course, a different dimension ground down here as well to kind of punish your opponent as well. But so many different options available for a deck like this. I genuinely like this a lot. Next up here, we actually have Exosister. Now, to the people that keep telling me, Robbie, you didn't mention Exosister on your last video. You know, I'm really disappointed you didn't say it was in the top 20 decks. We know that Exosister's playtime is always going to be involved by the things that it runs into in the meta. Do I need to shout that to anybody else out there so that you understand this? Because this deck is not terrible. I just don't think that repeating the same thing 30 times over, talking about, oh yeah, Exos, we know this. Now, I do want to say that there are some odd ratios in this deck. All right, double Ash Blossom, Joyous Spring, that's kind of interesting. We are actually doubling in here. Triple Shifter is pretty normal, I feel like. I actually do get the chance to see the one Carpe Diem, which is pretty standard. Now, this build chose to main deck 2 Aratama, side to the third. I don't really know what's going on with this, but okay, you also see your third Ash. What was with these ratios? Did they just want to, I mean, I guess they're trying to dedicate a slot in here to the Gozen match to do their thing. We also have triple Lance in the main deck here. Now, full disclaimer here, Lance is a good card. All right, Lance gives this deck some sort of protection, you know, against some sort of, you know, problem thing that's going to get tossed at them. And options, I think, will always be a good thing, all right? The chance for protection, the chance to make sure that you can do whatever you want, typically ends up working out here. And then, of course, evenly match. Yeah, the make sure that your opponent's not going to have fun scenario. Absolutely my favorite. But overall, I think this is fine, minus the... we wanted to play Skullmeisters and decided to change our ratios around. But once again, a deck like this always comes down to, you know, how is your local environment shaping up? What do you need to change to be able to combat your local environment as well? And of course, hey, Vanquish Soul, how are you doing today? Another deck out here that can play the troublesome dimension shifters and be able to do your thing. Now, I do want to say Vanquish Soul's really good at stealing games. Thank you, Time Rules. I'm really glad that we actually have that. This is kind of cool. We're actually playing Ultimate Slayer down here, and then we have Malong. All right, so they're basically... I mean, your fusion outs, you have Malong, you can technically send whatever you need to from your utility of options down here. Yeah, you've also got Bucephalus too for Ultimate Slayer as well. This Ultimate Slayer must have been like super crazy resolving in a lot of these matchups and actually helping them out in a lot of situations. Also, don't forget about this card. This card single-handedly has turned a lot of today's meta upside down and actually continues to be a card that just goes, hey, you want to filter your hand? Hey, you want to set up? Whatever your opponent thinks that they're going to get out of, you know, the meta, nah, just Phantasme. Filter your hand. Don't care. You now have a 2400 monster on the field that gives you targeting protection. Typically ends up working out relatively well. So overall, a lot of interesting things today. Like, just thinking about some of this, the Grand Maju stuff is a little bit spicy. I like that. The double Bujin success stories I think have been really crazy to kind of follow and see what more we can actually see. So, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.